The movie begins on a cold afternoon. A man sits alone in his car, his mind spinning between rage and despair. He's been parked there for hours, debating whether to turn around or to confront the truth he already knows. At last, he moves, driving toward a small hotel. He goes into the empty reception and takes a key. But when he opens the door, his world collapses, his wife in bed with another man. His face displays a cocktail of fury, disbelief, and heartbreak. He thinks of revenge. His eyes show a dangerous spark ready to ignite. But in the end, he swallows the rage and simply walks away. 6 months later, the man, Mort, a once celebrated writer, now a ghost of himself. Mort now lives alone in a quiet cabin by the lake, divorced and hollow-eyed, trying to patch up what's left of his life. Then, a knock at the door. Standing outside is a man in a wide-brimmed hat, his face shadowed but serious. He introduces himself as John Shooter. Shooter accuses Mort of stealing his story, The Secret Window. Mort laughs it off at first, assuming it's some mistake. He's never heard of the man. But Shooter insists Mort stole his story. Mort tries to stay calm, tells him to take it up with his agent. But Shooter's message is clear. He isn't here for legal talk. He's here for justice, his own kind. When Shooter leaves, Mort brushes it off, muttering to Chico, his dog, that he's just crazy. But later, his housekeeper brings him an old manuscript she found in the trash. Mort flips it open and freezes. The story inside is exactly like Shooter described, word for word. He stares at the pages in disbelief. How could this be? That night, Mort can't sleep. His phone rings. It's Amy, his ex-wife. They're still technically married, but their lives have already split in two. They talk about their new man, Ted. Amy reminds him to stay off cigarettes and alcohol. Her tone, half concern, half pity. Mort nods through the conversation, pretending he's fine. But when the call ends, his face tells the truth. He's not fine at all. The next day, while out walking, he sees Shooter again. Shooter claims he wrote the story in '97. Mort pushes back. He wrote his in '94. So if anyone copied, it's him. Shooter doesn't believe a word. He demands proof. Mort says he has a proof. A magazine did a piece about the story in '95, but it's in his old house. Shooter gives him 3 days to produce the magazine. And then, with a quiet menace, he adds that he knows where Amy lives. That small threat turns the air cold. Mort stares at him, realizing this man isn't just crazy, he's dangerous. Later that night, Mort dreams of drowning, water closing in, suffocating him. He wakes up with a start. The front door is wide open. Outside, the world is too quiet. He calls for Chico. No answer. Then he sees it, a note stabbed in his window frame. I'm not joking. You have 3 days. Don't call the police. Mort's stomach sinks. Moments later, he finds Chico lifeless. The grief hits like a brick wall. His only friend is gone. You'll pay for this, he vows. He rushes to the police, but the sheriff barely listens. Says it doesn't qualify as a major crime. And that's when it hits Mort. He's on his own. Desperate, he goes to see his friend, Ken, a private investigator. He explains everything. The threats, the manuscript, the dead dog. Ken promises to look into it. When Mort leaves, he drives past Amy's house. He sits in his car, staring at the house that used to be his, convincing himself that he's moved on, even though it's clear he hasn't. Later, Ken shows up to assess the situation. Everything looks fine. Mort mentions that his neighbor Tom saw him talking to Shooter. Maybe he could identify the man. Ken nods, says he'll talk to him. But once the door shuts, Mort's anxiety creeps back in. He hears noises, soft, deliberate sounds echoing through the cabin. He grabs a weapon and searches every shadow. Booth finds nothing but a mouse. Embarrassed, he lets it go. And that's when Shooter appears, standing still in the garden. He says calmly, "Your time's almost up." All Mort has to do is bring him that magazine, and it'll be over. But Mort's done playing games. He grabs a stick, ready to strike, but Shooter catches it midair, effortlessly. He leans in and says coldly, "You stole my story. I don't want your money. I want you to change the ending." Mort snaps back, says his ending was better. Shooter's eyes darken. The next morning Amy calls, voice trembling. Their house is burned down. Mort rushes to the scene. Ashes, smoke. Memories turn to dust. The magazine is gone. The firefighters tell him it was arson. Someone threw an incendiary through the window. At the insurance office, Mort and Ted sit side by side Amy. It's awkward. It's tense. Amy asks when he'll finally sign the divorce papers. Mort just sighs and says soon. But something in his eyes says otherwise. As Mort and Amy walk downstairs, tension lingers like smoke. But before they can part ways, Ted reappears, calm on the surface, yet visibly agitated. He asks Mort to step outside for a chat. Ted tells him bluntly he's tired of waiting. He demands he signs the papers so he can marry Amy and move on. Mort just stares back, his voice cool but edged with venom. Tells him he hates seeing them more than they do him. As Ted turns to leave, Mort casually asks where he comes from. Ted says a small town called Shooter's Bay. Mort freezes. The name hits like a thunderclap. The same name as the stranger who's been haunting him. Later that night, Mort sits alone in his cabin, trying to make sense of it all. When Ken calls, he sounds uneasy. He tells Mort he spoke to Tom. At first, Tom confirmed seeing him with Shooter, but later claimed he never saw anyone. Never even passed by the cabin. Mort dismisses it, says Tom's probably scared. Ken sighs and suggests they visit Tom together the next morning. Before hanging up, Ken adds something hopeful. He's found a copy of the magazine that can prove Mort's innocence. That night, Mort overslept. When he finally wakes, he rushes outside and stops cold. His car door is open. On the seat, a pack of cigarettes. Shooter's brand. And right there sits Shooter's hat. Mort's chest tightens. He jumps into the car and speeds to the supermarket, heart pounding. He bursts inside, asking the cashier if Ken's been by. But she shakes her head. Mort waits and waits until the dread sinks deeper. Something is wrong. Driving home, he spots Ted at a gas station. Mort storms over, demanding to know why he's there. Ted says he came to find him. He brought the divorce papers for him to sign. But Mort's had enough. His patience is gone. He refuses to sign anything and tells Ted to let the lawyers handle it. The argument heats up. Sharp words, clenched jaws, until Mort finally snaps. He punches Ted hard. Ted swings back, but misses and smashes his hand through the car window. Mort storms off, trembling with anger and confusion. Then the phone rings. Shooter's voice, calm as ever, cuts through the chaos. He tells Mort to meet him deep in the woods, and warns if anyone else finds out, he'll be the one to pay. He arrives to find Ken's car parked under the trees. He calls out but no answer. Then he sees it. Tom slumped over the wheel, his screwdriver in his head. In the back seat is Ken, lifeless. Mort freezes in horror and collapse. When he comes to it, Shooter's voice shakes him out of his daze. He tries to get away from him, but he has dead legs. Shooter, composed and unbothered, tells Mort that his hesitation has consequences. All Heaver wanted was for him to change the ending. They died because he can't make up his mind. Mort says he's insane and threatens to call the police. Coldly, Shooter asks him whose screwdriver is in Tom's head. He orders him to get rid of the bodies. Left him with two options: bring the magazine the next day, or fix his story. Failure will have devastating consequences. Then he fades into the trees, leaving Mort paralyzed by dread. Mort dangerously pushed the car down the hill and into the lake, losing his watch in the process. Back at the cabin, Amy calls again. Her voice trembles. She says he's been distant. She just wants the divorce finalized. But Mort lashes out. He blames her for everything. The affair, the misery, the collapse of his life. Amy's voice softens. She asks quietly whether it would have been different if they hadn't lost the baby. The words hit him like a knife. He goes silent, then explodes, shouting that she's the one who cheated, not him. Slams the phone down. Later, Mort picks up the package Ken mailed, the magazine that's supposed to save him. He opens the index. His story's there on page 83. But when he flips to it, his blood runs cold. Pages 82 through 99 gone. Ripped out. Someone's playing a cruel game. Back home, he sees Shooter's hat sitting on his desk, a haunting reminder. His mind fractures. He begins arguing with himself. Two voices, one body. One swears Ted is behind it all. The other whispers something darker, something truer. That Shooter isn't real. He made him up. He's you. Mort's breath trembles. He looks at his reflection, but the man in the mirror doesn't move. Then Shooter appears beside him, calm, composed, utterly terrifying. He confesses everything. He burned down the house. He killed Tom. And Ken. He ripped out the magazine pages. Shooter was never real. He was Mort's shadow, the part of him that snapped when Amy betrayed him. The hat, the southern drawl, the cold smile, all of it. Inventions of a fractured mind. Then, a knock at the door. Amy's here. She finds a torn manuscript page near the entrance and steps inside. The house is dead silent. As she climbs the stairs, she sees the word Shooter scrawled everywhere. Then her eyes land on something carved into the table. Shooter. Her heart stops. It's not a name anymore. It's a command. She turns, and Mort is there. His eyes empty, his face still, axe in hand. Amy screams and bolts through the house. Mort follows, shouting that she can't run from what she's done. She bursts outside into the garden just as Ted's car screeches to a stop. He yells her name, and Mort attacks from the shadows. It's quick, brutal. Ted dies first, then Amy. And as Mort finishes it, he mutters softly, quoting lines from The Secret Window. His story complete at last. Days later, Mort looks calm, composed, almost reborn. He shops at the local market, like a man with no ghosts left to chase. But people avoid him. Disgusted, he's even allowed in town. The sheriff visits him in his cabin. He tells Mort they know he had something to do with Amy and Ted's disappearance. They just haven't found the bodies yet. Mort smiles. Slow, polite, chilling. He turns back to his desk, reading his new story aloud. The one he finished, exactly the way Shooter wanted. And that's how the curtain falls on a man who lost everything to a voice that was never real. A haunting reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we write ourselves. What do you think? Is the justice system pushing men overboard? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you were captivated by the story, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite thrillers.